Good morning, Rabbi Isai. How's everybody doing? Today's shiur is sponsored Lili Nishmasimi, Ruzbas Mordechai. And we have a very special sponsor here. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the sponsor. I don't remember. Is it this computer? It goes over here. All right. So today's shiur is sponsored in honor of all the young kids that watch the shiur, including the young kid is Jack Friedman, who's not so young. He's not married. How old is he? Turning 19. Okay, so he's the oldest of the kids. We don't know of all the kids, and we might not have the full list, but here's a big list. And it says because it's Daf, Amud Beis, Leiv, they are the heart of the shiur. Yo Bergman, Akiva Solway, Moshe Apter. These are guys that are on every single day without fail. Shmuley Lemmer, the kid that came in for the Siyum, drove in from the mountains to Kensington. Yona Simcha Gargir, he's here with us right here in the building. Gavriel Lin, Ari Seltzer, Yehuda Tzvi Seltzer, Yaakov Factor, David Factor, probably the youngest kid in the shiur besides David Feinberg's 4-year-old who didn't make it to the list. Akiva Rosenbaum, Alicia Seltzer, not related to the other Seltzers. Jack Friedman, the 19-year-old. He's going to be so upset that he's on this list. Shmuel Lemmer's young. He's 14, 15. Yeah. Sroli David, Ben Ishchai comes every single night. Akiva Factor, not related to the other factors. Maybe they are related, but the nephew. Zalman Tzvi Bilyak, that's Yosef's son. Naftali Mateh comes every single night to Zoom. Well, he's on Zoom now with his grandfather. Mordechai Zelig Hirsch, he's a kid from Kensington, but his 3 brothers, I don't know their name. They did the Siyum with him. So we're also proud of you. Each and every one of you is a true live, has Shiur, keep it up. Yeshur Koyach. We have a lot of sponsors today. That's why we had to start a little early. Well, it's not early, we're on time. In honor of Tamar Epstein. That's it. Atkan. Refuah Shlema for my father, Reb Chaim Ben Chana, who himself is a Magid Shiur, Daf Yomi Magid Shiur for at least 40 years. He's in the hospital battling a serious infection, and all this week he couldn't give a shiur because of that, so he should have a schos, nothing to do with COVID. Shendel Devora Bas Avram Noyach. I believe I have a short email here. And schos for Refuah Shlema for Tinoik Ben Sima Bracha. All right, so everybody should have a refuah shlema, and Tamar should have a. It's garnished. What are you worried about money? Oh, it's a very good aura. Thanks, Nachman. Not all of these people are sponsoring Nachman.
I know, but somebody's sponsoring them, right?
Yeah. So what are you counting? The money, the shiur? What do you count? What? You know what? I'll put it this way: more money than you raised while you were emceeing the. No, I'm just kidding. What? I don't know. I have no idea how much money. Well, they're all. For all I know, it's all freebies. You could have. You should have. All right, this is a real quick email. I'm sponsoring the shiur on the 21st of Elul on occasion of the first death of my mother, Shendel Dvar Bas Avram Noyach. At the age of 16, her father sent her to the Warsaw ghetto, and he said, go wherever your eyes will take you. She was the only one to survive. She ended up in Auschwitz. She came back to Poland. She married her father, blessed with children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Her memories of her family's strong devotion to Yiddishkeit were always an inspiration to us. May her memory be blessing. I want to thank Eli and the entire MDY team for presenting the Daf in such an enjoyable manner. Eli's use of charts and interaction with the groups makes the shiur lively and, in a way, entertaining. Oh, we have some time. You guys want to come? This is a very interesting email because I was in a store just a few days ago and a gentleman came over to me, recognized me with my mask on. He says, "You're Eli Stefansky." Yes, there's a guy, Benny Gittleson, in England that works in a bakery. I think he said bakery. But I remember, maybe that's my own memory, because Benny once wrote us an email, and he says, oh, he's doing great, and blah, blah, he loves the shiur. And all of a sudden, I get an email from Benny. So I'll read this. Hi, Rebelli, it's Benny Gilson from Manchester. I'm Baruch Hashem still doing the daf every day with you. I love your shiur, best Maggid shiur in the world. Any one of those emails comes to the top. Rabbi is sending the emails. It's kedai. I love the live demonstration today. Finally, somebody said he liked the demonstration. Please, can you do it every day? The same one. Over. No, I really enjoyed the Siyum on Shabbos. When I went on holiday, I went to Wales, and there was a 70-inch plus screen there. He was Mekadesh, the TV screen. I watched the share on the screen, and it felt like I was in the same room as you. I look forward to one day coming to Israel and coming to the live share. My days are feeling much better after doing the daf with you every day. Have a wonderful day. His mama, he's catching on to the lingo here. Benny Gittleson. Okay, Givaldik. More? There's another guy from London. Today's 250 days of the cycle. If anybody wanted to know. 250 days since Brachas. Shkoyach. Dear Rebelli Shlita, as a latecomer and joining but now a subscriber, I must say that your cheerfulness is very refreshing. Singing Ben Bagbag was very predictable. Was it? And a very nice way of Ivdus Hashem B'Simcha. And he goes on to say that we were just learning the sugi. It's interesting. Klal Prat Klal. I thought we're done with Klal Prat Klal. I was all excited, and he brings it back. Of course, Klal Prat Klal. He says there's a pshat from Reb Shmilcha Horowitz, Zechron Levracha. Atem nitzavim kulchem is a klal. Roshechem shiftechem, only Roshechem is a prat. Kol ish b'nei Yisrael is a klal. So we ask Hakadosh Baruch Hu that he should be done ke'ena prat. Ma prat Roshechem shiftechem, like the Gdoilem. So to us also, wishing you continue to see Yad Shmaya, Ksiv Chasim Toiva. Likewise to all the shir members, it's all of you. Ksiv Chasim, good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Oh yeah, tomorrow. Avrami Feld from London. Gewaldig, Shkoyach. Aleph Amud Beis going into Daf Lev for these. All right. They really give everybody chizuk, I'm sure. When you see going into Daf Lev for these, they really give everybody chizuk, I'm sure. When you see, well, it makes us a little depressed, at least me. Like when the 8-year-olds come every single day, what were we doing when we were 8, 10, 15, 20, 40? These guys are going to finish that soon. It's unbelievable. All right, Omer Rav Nachman, the special neshamas in this world. Where does he get it from? It's okay. Omer Rav Nachman, B'Shel Torah, Ein Chazaka Shliach Oiseh Shlichus. So he's just finished saying, by the way, Rabbi, I announced yesterday, very, very important. I announced yesterday, I thought it was a moiridic idea that if people want to bring people to the shiur, but they don't feel comfortable, not everybody's a Yeshua Aaron prize, go over to random strangers, little kids in the store, women or whatever, come to the shiur. He thinks they're adults. I don't know. I saw him walk over to a 3-year-old and he started saying, daf, daf, daf. He's a super, what do they call you? Super recruiter. Joe Biden could get some guys. No, the kid that I saw him try to recruit was his own son. His son's first words were daf. That's this thing, right? So anyway, what? And he did not call his daughter Daphna for whatever strange reason. So you could donate money towards an ad campaign, and the schusim that you get from that ad will be yours, and you'll get other people. So just yesterday, 3 people, total of $3,000. It's unbelievable. So keep it up, Rabbi Isai. Omer Rav Nachman. Talking about, did I tell you what happened with the bus sign? We got to start learning. But a guy walked in there. His name is Jason. He's been here already for 3-4 nights already. Jason Wynn. Jason Wynn. He said that he gave me a ride once from the airport, and I convinced him to do the daf. But that didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, he saw my face on a bus. So he came to the shiur. So the ad works. The ad works. Yeah. The ad worked. So it was worth it. They spent, I don't remember how many thousands of shekel on the bus ads. One guy, it's kedai. For one guy, it's kedai, but there's better ways of doing it. Omer Rav Nachman. B'Shel Torah ein chazaka shliach oiseh shlichusoi. We just wasted so. B'Shel Torah ein chazaka shliach oiseh shlichusoi. When it comes to halacha that's in the Torah, we cannot rely on a shliach. So we just finished yesterday saying that you can rely on a shliach. You tell a shliach to do an eruv, he's going to do the eruv. All of a sudden he says, but when it comes to a chiyuv d'oraisa, You can't rely on the guy. B'shal Seifrim, Daf Beis, Amud Aleph, B'shal Seifrim, Chazaka Shliach Oisish Derusai. Why? When it comes to the Rabbanon, we could assume that a guy is going to listen to you. Because what's the worst case scenario? He won't listen. He'll tell you he's going to do something, he's not going to do it. He's going to tell you he's going to do an Eruv and he didn't do the Eruv. So worst comes to worst, you're even in the Rabbanon. It's not the end of the world. So we could rely on a person, and worst comes to worst, if he's not going to do it, fine.
Somebody's going to tell you that you should have said that. Because the Rabbanon are like the Rices, and now people are going to believe you.
It's not me. I don't make stuff up. I'm just reading from the Gemara. I'm just a conduit here. We're going to talk about Amaritzim soon. But people that know how to learn, this is the Gemara, this we understand. We can rely on the chazaka. There is a chazaka, but together, the tzir of these two things, we don't have to be concerned. It doesn't matter. Even a da'iraisa, I can rely on the shaliach. Just point out real quickly, Taisus brings a bahag that says, there's many machlokes and shas between Rav Sheshis and Rav Nachman. So he paskins, the bahag paskins when it comes to mamonis, like Rav Nachman, when it comes to Yisurim, like Rav Sheshis. This would be an Isser. So the halacha should be like Rav Sheshis says, then he goes into it, maybe they argue on it. But a Yisoid, because many machlokes and shas between Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshis, you should know the bahag. Very interesting bahag. Depends. If it's mamonis, it goes like Rav Nachman. If it's Yisurim, it goes like Rav Sheshis. Rav Sheshis says, now the Gemara is going to bring 3 rayas. Basically, it'll take us all the way to Amud Beis. Rav Sheshis says 3 proofs, and Rav Nachman disputes the proofs one by one. Rav Sheshis, what's my proof that even at the Iraisa, I could count on another person telling me he's going to do what I ask him to do? This nan, Mishikara va'oimer hutar chodesh miyad. The oimer, that is, the new grain from the new year coming into Pesach, you cannot eat it until you makriv the minchas oimer on the second day of Pesach. By the way, I mentioned it a few times, that halacha l'chayr applies even today, even in Chutz La'aretz, unless you're soymech on the bach, which most people aren't, he's a das yachid. But in America, they seem to we can rely on that. But it became very popular to be makbid on Yashon. Even in America, you could get it, you could do okay. Most pizza shops and all that, they're makbid today. Not so 20 years ago. Al kapanim, oimer. Hutar chodesh miyad. Mishikar va'oimer. When they bring the carbon oimer, they can bring it at any time from the morning on. You could eat chadash, the new grain, right away. But those who don't know if they brought the carbon, so they can't eat it the first thing in the morning. What if they didn't bring it? Why? You could rely on the kohanim, the Beis Hamikdash, that they're going to probably bring it by chatzos. V'chadash doiraisahu, the iser chadash is the iser doiraisa. Uktani or rechoikim mutarim mechatzos hayom ve'elach. But it says that even if you don't know for sure, you could start eating the new grain. But if you eat the new grain and they didn't bring the carbon, you're over doiraisa. Chazaka, la b'shum chazaka shleich ha'yish d'chusa, isn't it because those folks in the Beis Hamikdash are doing their job and they're going to bring the carbon oimer. Says Rav Nachman, what you're probably all thinking to yourselves, Hasam kediktani taima lifi shiyodim sheim bezdin misatzlim. But over there, it's halachim bezdin. Bezdin that takes care of Klal Yisrael. They have a job to do. They have to bring that oimer. They're not going to wait around. They're not going to mess it up. They're going to do it. We're talking about an individual that promises you he's going to place your Eruv 2,000 amas over there. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. It's not a bezdin. V'ika da'amri, and some say the exact opposite. It's such a strong answer what Rav Nachman says that it's actually proof to Rav Nachman. Omer Rav Nachman min ha'amin Allah diktani ta'im alefi sheyoidim she'im bezim misatzim boy. I could prove to you that a doiraisa, only a doiraisa. Why? Because it says diktani ta'im alefi sheyoidim she'im bezim misatzim boy. Bezim u'loy misatzim boy. Sorry, a doiraisa we don't count on a shaliach. Why? Because over there it says the reason why I could count on the oimer being brought is because bezdin are not going to be lazy. Hashliach misatzabay. But that's because it's bezdin. But you see from there mefurish that a shliach could forget, and you cannot rely on a shaliach. It's a right to Rav Nachman that I only count on Bezdin, and I don't count on a shliach. So it's a beautiful raya. That's what Rav Nachman says. That when it comes to Doiraisa, like a Oimer, I don't count on a shliach. Otherwise, the Gemara should say that he's a shliach. He's going to do his job. No, the Gemara goes deeper. It's a Bezdin, and Bezdin are going to do his job. A shliach doesn't do his job. Only in the Rabbanan, a shliach, we can rely on a shliach. Rav Sheshes Amalach, Bezdin al Pagi Diyoima. The reason why the Gemara goes so far to say that it's a Bezdin, because we want to give this guy the ability to eat by Chatzos Hayoim, halfway through the day. So that you need something strong. Shaliach Kuli Yoima. But over here we're saying that the Shliach probably brought the Eruv, like most people, they procrastinate till the end of the day. Okay, so he'll do it by the end of the day. But a person will do his job. He's not going to tell you he's going to do something, and he won't do it, says Rav Sheshes. Omer Rav Sheshes. Try number 2. So this one didn't work out so well for Rav Sheshes. It's not Muchach. Rav Nachman wiggled his way out of it. Fakert, not that he wiggled his way, he actually turned it around on Rav Sheshes and brought a raya against Rav Sheshes. Okay. I'll give you another raya. A woman who's tameh. Mevia, she gave birth, so she has to bring korbanos. Or she's a zava, she has to bring birds. Yerledis also brings at least 1 bird, and if she's poor, she brings 2 birds. Mevia moiz v'nesens b'shofar. Well, so instead of bringing physical birds, what you could do is you take money, you put it in a pushka called a shofar. It actually looks like a shofar, talking about Rosh Hashanah. It's Avi Mandelbaum will show you over there what it looks like. It's very narrow on the top, and it curves and becomes wide on the bottom. So if you're trying to stick your finger in there, first of all, it's very narrow. Second of all, it turns, you're not going to get the money. So you put the money into this shofar. So she puts the money in. Now what has to happen? In order for her to go to the mikvah, she has to assume that the kohen took her money out of the shofar, bought birds, was makriv the birds for her, and now she's a tfulas yom. She can go, and well, she already went to the mikvah. She has to go again to the mikvah because she wants to eat kachim. She'll be toivel. But that's all assuming that the carbon was brought. Who said somebody brought the carbon? You're relying on a kohen in the Beis Hamikdash. And she could eat kachim, v'yichels b'kachim, which if she's tamei, she gets kares. It's a very severe penalty for this. But she can rely on the kohen. V'yichels b'kachim l'erev. My time, because I'm going to assume that the kohen did what he was supposed to do. Says the Gemara, Rav Nachman, Hasam, different reason. Rav Shmaya, Chazaka in Bezdin. Again, once again, we're jumping to Bezdin. Over there in the Beis Hamikdash, there's a Bezdin. Who takes care? Who makes sure things happen? Yes, there's a kohen here, there's a kohen there. But there's a Bezdin telling Rabbi Schoenberg and his friends, do this, do that. They're the heads. They tell you what to do. The Bezdin is not going to mess up. They make sure nobody goes home until they empty out the shofar. Every day. So they make sure things happen. That's why I can rely on it. But it's a different halacha than a shliach. This is not a typical shliach that I'm relying on. Omer Rav Sheshes. Okay, not a good raya. Third raya. Here we go. Omer Rav Sheshes. It says, you have a guy. Soon in a second we're going to see who this guy is. Is he a learned person, not a learned person? So Reuven tells Shimon, go to my tree and grab. I was just thinking about you, Hillel. I'm not exaggerating. I didn't see you on Zoom in a long time. Shalom Aleichem. Thanks for coming. I hope you got Rishus, though, to come. There's no Oivei. Okay, you gave Rishus. Good. Because it's very limited. We have to be careful for Corona here. He got Rishus. Rabbi said, don't learn from this. He got Rishus. So Reuven asks, tell Shimon, you have permission to go to my fig tree and grab a bunch of figs and eat them. Now, what do we do about Trumas and Meisers? What are the Trumas and Meisers given to these figs? Says the Brisa, Oichel mehem arai uma'asrum vadai. Rabbi Isai in the kitchen, we could hear you very, very loud and clear. Shkoyach. Oichel mehem arai uma'asrum vadai. So what you do is, you could eat the figs if you're just a temporary achila, just like by grain. If you're going to eat the grain before, remember that nice pile, the smooth pile, you're not allowed to eat it anymore, but before the smooth pile, You can go and grab some of the grain. So too over here, you could grab a fig or two, eat it next to the tree. You're okay. You don't have to take any meiser. However, uma asram vadai. But if you're going to make a whole suda out of it, then you have to take meiser vadai. Vadai means you're 100% taking meiser. It's not a suffix. So what's going on here? If I tell you that you can have figs off my tree, how many figs are you going to take off the tree? I don't know. There's no limit. I don't know how many you're going to take. You might take 2, you might take 200. So I'm the owner of the tree. I don't know what to do. I'm not going to give meiser, trumas and meisers for you if I don't know how much you're going to take. So again, the first halach is the same. He could eat temporarily, take a fig without meiser, no problem. But he has to take trumas and meisers as if he doesn't know what the owner did. It's very possible the owner took trumas and meisers because the owner knows how much to give. The owner knows that in this basket there's 100 figs that could fit in there. So Mela is going to take 12 figs off for trumas and meisers, let's say. 2 for Truma G'dayla, and another 9.8 for Meiser. So he's going to get rid of those figs. But on the other hand, maybe he didn't take Trumas and Meisers. It's a suffix. So he'll take Dmai. What's going on here? I don't know. So he'll take it again. Fine. Rashi just points out something very, very important, big yesod. What's the difference if a person takes Truma because he has to, or because it's a suffix? It's the same idea. So you should take Truma. Why does the Gemara say it takes Uma'asram Demai, and before that it says Uma'asram Vadai? Is there a difference in the way he takes the Trumas and Meisers between the two cases? Anybody? If you take Trumas and Meisers Demai, B'suffix, is it any different if you take Trumas and Meisers Vadai? Says Rashi, what? Bracha? No. I hear it, but no. Says Rashi, very, very big difference. The difference is in the Meiser that you give to the Levi and the Meiser Ani that you're supposed to give to the Ani. Both of those go to the Yisrael in the case where it's a suffix. Why? Because it's a suffix. And every suffix, Amaitzi Mechaver, Olavaraya. So the Truma G'dayla, he gives to the Kohen. But the Meiser that he gives to the Levi, so the Truma G'dayla doesn't have to give to the Kohen, but he can't eat it. Because if it's Truma, he's in big trouble. But Meiser, you could eat your own Meiser. Yisrael could eat Meiser. So he doesn't have to give it to the Levi, he could eat him for himself. You hear the nafkamina? Truma, Meiser, Demai means that you could keep the Meiser that you would give to the Levi. Now, the Bryce explains, B'medvar ma'amurim ba'am haaretz, that the owner of the tree is an Amoritz. But if the owner of the tree is a Talmud Chacham, then I could assume that he took the Truma Meiser off the tree while he promised, he told his friend, go take a basketful of fruit. So obviously, since he's a Talmud Chacham, he doesn't want the guy to be over in Aveiril, if the evil see the Michshel. Assume that the Talmud Chacham did his job and took the Trumas and Meisers. Okay? That's what Rebbe says. Rebbe Shimon Gamliel Oimer. Who's Rebbe Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi say? Compared to Rebbe. Here's the list. I pulled it out. For some reason, I was able to find it. It goes Hillel, famous Hillel, Beis Hillel, Hillel HaZaken, Rabban Shimon, Gamliel HaZaken, Rabban Shimon Gamliel, but that's not what we're talking about. Rebbe Gamliel, Rabban Shimon Gamliel, that's the one we're talking about. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rebbe. In other words, Rebbe, who's arguing here, is Rabbi Shimon Gamliel's son. Rebbe, who wrote the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, is arguing with his own father. So, Avo b'chaver oichal v'enitzarch la'aser. Divrei Rebbe. Rebbe says that Talmud Chacham, I could assume, took Trumas and Maisris, and therefore you don't have to take any Maisris. What the Brisa says that you should take Trumas and Maisris, Demai, is because you took it from an Amaretz. Rebbe Shimon Gamliel Omer, B'medva Mamurim B'Amaretz. But the same thing. We're talking about Amaretz. Al B'chaver, you cannot rely on Talmud Chacham. Why? So we had this halacha yesterday, that a Talmud Chacham is not going to take Trumas and Maisris from not within that same vessel, within the Kli. It has to be right there. And therefore, says Reb Shimon Gamliel, I'm sorry, son, but how could you assume that a Talmud Chacham gave Trumas and Maisris on a basket that's so far away when he's not there? Talmud Chacham doesn't do such a thing. And the Gemara is going to explain where's the machlokes. That's Omar Rebbe, Nirim Dvarim and Divrei Abba. Says Rebbe, what I'm saying is better than my father. Why? It's better that a Talmud Chacham should be over a tiny Aveira and not cause his friend to eat without Trumas and Maisros. Fine. And we're going to get a little bit more into it. The Gemara takes a pause for a second. And the Gemara says, well, here's my raya. We're trying to prove, Rav Sheish is trying to prove, that chazaka that a shliach does his shlichos even in the Oiraisa. Okay, what's the raya? The father and the son, Rebbe and Reb Shimon Gamliel, are arguing, could you rely on a Talmud Chacham? Could you not rely on a Talmud Chacham? Will a Talmud Chacham do Trumas and Maisros if he's not next to the food that he's doing it for? Would he not? But there's no machlokes if that wasn't an issue. If Talmidei Chacham are permitted to take Trumas and Maisros on things that they're not next to, then there wouldn't be a shayla. There wouldn't be a machlokes. Even Reb Shimon Gamliel would admit to his son. Of course, the Talmud Chacham is not going to want Amaris to walk around without Trumas and Maisros. So what is that called? That's called shlichus. Chazaka shlichus is shlichusay. The Talmud Chacham is going to do what he needs to do for the Amaret. So that's the raya. I just want to stop here for a second and point a beautiful thesis out. It's on the bottom. We can see it inside. The whole machlokes in the Gemara between Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshes is in one case, in the Dairaisa. But the Rabbanon, everybody agrees that shliach does the shlichus. To take, what are we talking about? We're talking about figs. To take Trumas and Meiser from figs is only Midirabbanan. Midiraisa is the gon chatirosh chavitzarecha. Grain, grapes, olives, that's it. Figs are not in that list. So it's the Rabbanon. The Rabbanon, chazaka is shliach shlichusai. Amazing question, right? Says Taisus, an amazing yisai shal aleichem barak. Rabbi, so we have to sing a niggin now. What's the niggin? Simin toivu mazel simin toiv yehei lanu lechoy. I love it. Shkoyach. It was almost a year ago that you started this year, right? On Sukkot. Beautiful. In the Sukkah. All right, to be discussed a different time. Says the Gemara. So says Taisus, look at Taisus. Kivin the ikir shem meiser min atayra. Taisus says an amazing yisai there. Choshev lokish al Torah. What's Taisus saying? Kivin the ikir shem meiser min atayra. Choshev lokish al Torah. So this Eruv doesn't appear anywhere in the Torah. That's a made-up thing. Midrabanan. The Rabbanan made it up. So that's the machlokes. The chazaka does a shliach do not a shliach will do a shlichus. It's not a machlokes. Shliach will do a derabbanan. But this figs is very similar to the Iraisa. It's the Rabbanan. You don't have to in the, but it's the same halacha that appears in the Torah regarding grain. The Rabbanan took it and put it by figs. That we have a machlokes on whether a shliach will do a shlichus or not, because it has a shem ma'aser min Torah, has that name min Torah. Okay, says Gemara. So is this a good raya for Rav Sheshes? A shliach does a shlichus. There's no machlokes between Rebbe and Rav Shimon Gamliel that a Talmud Chacham will do trumas and meisers for the Amaretz. The only machlokes is could he? Is it halachically permissible? But he would. Rav Nachman also said Rav Chanina Chazad, Rav Chanina Chazad, Chazaku achaver she'eni moitzi davar she'eni mesukim mitachas yadai. There's another chazaka, not a chazaka that the shliach does a shlichus, rather a chazaka The Talmud Chacham doesn't let unfixed food come out of his hands. He's not going to let something like that happen, that Amar is going to be over Yisurim because of him. That doesn't happen. Nothing to do with, it's a different chazakah. Nothing to do with the chazakah of shlichus, rather chazakah of Talmud Chacham doesn't allow these kind of things to happen. And now we go back to the sugya of a chaver and amaretz. Omer marbe medvar mamurim ba'amaretz. So we learned an amaretz that owns a tree, that's where the machlokes is. Rebbe says a Talmud Chacham that owns the tree, the other person, that the receiver doesn't have to take Trumas and Maasros because the owner, who's a Talmud Chacham, will take Trumas and Maasros. Hay Amaretz the Komer Leman. Who's this Amaretz talking to? Eli the Komer Lamaretz Chavrei. So, here's Amaretz, Aleph Mem, even spelled like Amaretz. Amaretz. If he's talking to another Amaretz, well, if you don't know why it's Amaretz, is it your first time here? Okay, let me fill you in for a second. In Chicago, you have Chicago ties. In Chicago, when I was giving shiur, so I was giving shiur from a Gemara like I do today. I didn't know how to read then. I still don't. And so I use the Gemara with Nekudas. I love it. I also use a Siddur with Nekudas, by the way, because I don't know how to read, and also Mishnah Berurah with Nekudas, and Chumash also has Nekudas. So a guy comes over to me and says, Bishleim has a beard, and he's a Rav, he has Smicha. Bishleim, if you're an Amritz, I understand why I have Nekudas. But you're Talmud Chachams. So I also put Talmud Chachams here, Talmud Chachams, with the Samach at the end. So if you're Talmud Chachams, fine. So who's the Amaritz talking to him? From that day on, his name is Amaritz, not Amaretz. He needs Nekudas, and I put the Nekudas here for him to read. Amaritz. If the guy's Amaritz, and he's talking to another Amaritz, Amaritzim don't listen to Talmid Chachamim. Why do we have Demai? Demai means that Amaretz who says, I took Trumas and Maasros, we can't rely on him, because maybe he didn't take Trumas and Maasros. So who's he talking to? He told his Amaretz friend to shaitim. They both picked their nose. He tells his other nose picker guy, go take off the tree figs. And Chacham are going to tell him, by the way, you have to take Trumas and Maasros again. Why? Because your other Amaretz friend that gave it to you, we're choshid him. You think he's going to listen to Chachamim? Chachamim don't trust his friend, so they don't trust me, so I'm going to listen to you, Chachamim. Mapitam. So it can't be that the Amaretz gave it to Amaretz. It must be that the Amaretz gave it to Talmid Chachams. Fine, that's the end of the story. So now that we know this Yisoid, that it's Amaretz, the receiver was, probably Avi Mandelbaum, probably loves this. Tomorrow, this is going to be his window. I hope. Amaretz, the Gomer Leilaman, Elim, the Gomer Amaretz, Chavrei, Masrim, Demai, Mitzayis. You think the Amaretz is going to listen to Chachamim when he knows that his friend gave Trumas and Maasros? So you must say that it's Amaretz that gave fruit to Talmid Chacham, and Chachamim are telling the Talmid Chacham, you have to be really careful with this Amaretz guy. You should give yourself. Ema Seifa. So the second case, the first case is that he told him to take it off the tree. What's the second case? That he told him to put it in a basket. So we have to flow here, right? So who's the receiver? The receiver is an Amaretz. But that's not what it says. It says that the receiver was a Talmid Chacham. We got a major problem here. Well, we're switching cases, and not only we're switching cases, we've flipped it around. The giver is an Amaretz that gave to Talmid Chacham. It really says that it's a Talmid Chacham that gave to. Let's see. Rebbe says, I like my shita better. It's really supposed to be a Talmid Chacham here. Litrum Shalom and Rukov Vayachilu Amaretz. It says, it's not a picture, but it says that it's a Talmid Chacham who gave to an Amaretz. That's what it says, right? We had a whole discussion. Is the Talmid Chacham going to give Truma when it's not in front of him? He's not. But it's the Talmid Chacham giving to who? To Amaretz. Rebbe says Mefurish. They don't want to feed the Amaratzim. So the receiver is an Amaretz. So, but the first case, you told me the receiver was the Talmid Chachams. And now you're telling me that he's Amaretz. Says the Gemara, Amaretz, my Bayali Hassam. Where does Amaretz fit into this whole thing? We just said that Amaretz cannot be the receiver because he won't take Trumas or Meisers anyways. So he doesn't take Trumas or Meisers. He can't be the guy getting it. It has to be talking about that it's Tam Chacham getting it. Okay, so that's why I did it like this. The Reisha, the first case that he's picking off the tree, is the Amaretz that owns the tree, telling the Talmud Chacham to take off the tree. Great. Seifa, you're right. It's a different case. Sha'amar la'amaretz b'chaver. It's talking about a Talmud Chacham who told Amaretz, go fill up your basket. V'chaver acher shoymai. But the receiver cannot be an Amaretz, we said, because the Amaretz doesn't listen. Says the Gemara, very good. The real receiver at the end of the day, at the end of the line, is a Talmud Chacham. A Talmud Chacham gave to an Amaretz. And you could assume that the Talmud Chacham doesn't want to be Machshel, says Rebbe, the Amaretz, because the Amaretz is not going to do anything with it. So he's going to take Trumas and Meisers. Can the Talmud Chacham that's eating over, let's say, by the Amaretz's house, can he rely on it? Could he use that fruit relying on the first Talmud Chacham? Talmud Chacham gave to an Amaretz, who gave to a Talmud Chacham. Right? So, we're turning to Daf Beis, Amud Beis, sponsored by Dr. Listhouse, Lili Nishmas, I have to find the name here, Mordechai Yosef ben Aaron, and Lili Nishmas, Asher's mother, Roisa Bas ben Yomin, who says, make it a great day. By the way, I had to use that line on my kid the other day. My kid told me, I'm just saying this because it's a Musa Haskell, I think. He said, what do you want from me? You brought me to Israel when I was this and this age. I didn't speak Hebrew. I had a very hard time here. I said, it's a very good taina. But you know what? Think about all those people that came out of the camps, the concentration camps. They had zero to their name, and they came to America. And look at these lives that they made for themselves. You have to take responsibility for yourself. Everybody has excuses. I heard that they're saying in America, the reason why we're protesting is because we were slaves. Take responsibility. Make it a great day, Rabbi Isai. Today, you have the choice. Don't blame other people. That's what Asher is trying to say here. Says the Gemara. Rebbe Savar, Oisoi Chaver, Oichel Vein. Yeah, but your father is the actual child of the Holocaust survivor. He had it rough, your father. That's different. And you had it rough because you had your father. My father, we're Swiss, so we didn't really have it. But I came up with it myself. Says the Gemara, so Rebbe Savar, what's Rebbe's Svara here? Oh, okay, Baruch Hashem, I lost my thing. You know what, but I have other ones. We're going to the green now. The third guy in line, the guy at the end of the line doesn't have to take a meiser. Why? The vadi isuri maser ahu chaver kamilove. The first guy for sure took meiser. Why? Because he knows that the guy receiving it is an amaritz, and he's not going to do it for himself. So he's going to take the trumas or meisers for him, and therefore the Talmud Chacham could eat it. But the father says, it's impossible for this Talmud Chacham to take Trumas and Meisros when he's not in front of the Trumas, he's not in front of the basket. It's also for him to do it. So why would he do a Nisr? Oh, so what's the machlokes? And now finally the Gemara explains. So Rebbe tells his father, what do you mean? If the Talmud Chacham doesn't take Trumas and Meisros, this Amaretz is going to be eating Tevel. And that's an Issa D'Oraisa. You get Misa, B'dei Shamayim, for eating Tevel. And says the Gemara, so where's the machlokes? It's better for the Talmud Chacham to do a light Isser, a D'Rabbanan, not to be Mafresh Trumas and Meisros in front of the basket. And not allow the Amaretz to do a major Isser of Chiyuv Misa. Ask Tosfos, we learned in Masechet Shabbos Daf Daled, that if there's a case where somebody's about to be over a Isser, you don't tell him Chatei B'shul Sheyiske Chavercha. Says Tosfos, you have to understand, and the reason I'm bringing this Tosfos is because Shuhu Goyrim Loy La'avar. The Talmud Chacham is at fault. He causes Amaretz to be over Isser because he gave him fruit. Who told you to give him fruit? Now take responsibility. Be over a small Isser so that he shouldn't be over a big one. And later on, Tosfos says, a guy that puts bread into the oven, he did it right before. Yes, it's a shoygig, but it's his fault. He should have known better. Over here, the Amaretz had no idea that there's no truth in the Meisers. Talmid Chacham come and go eat. He figured, go eat. But what Reb Shimon Gamliel is going to say, wait a minute, before you put something in your mouth, figure it out. That's your problem to figure out whether or not it's mu'usar or not. Says the Gemara, he himself, Talmid Chacham doesn't want to even do a small isur, even though it's going to save the Amaris from a greater isur. Says the Mishnah, Nisane be'ilan, if you put your eruv in a tree, you can't eat it, as the Gemara is going to explain, so therefore it's not considered an eruv if it's above 10 tfachim. The Gemara will explain beautifully where and how. If you could reach it, it's less than 10 tfachim. I'm not talking about reaching, I'm talking about halachically getting to it. Eruv, it's a good eruv. So below 10 is okay, on this branch, above 10, on this branch, not okay. Nisane bebar, what if you put the eruv inside a pit? If you want to know what a pit looks like, here you go. I believe there's a piece of salami in here, especially if you're from Chicago, Romanian salami. This looks like a salami to me, no? This red thing? So a guy throws the salami into the bar, and it's a certain size, it's a yachid. So even though afilo amin k'mei amo eruv, it's a good eruv. Says the Gemara. Yosef Rebbe Chia bar Abba. I'm not so worried about where we get to, because if you take a peek on Daf Lamed Gimel and Lamed Daled, not so. No, it's kind of usher to finish. Kind of sorry, Nachman. Kind of usher. Yosef Rebbe Chia bar Abba Rebbe Asi v'Rava bar Nosson. So Rebbe Chia bar Abba and Rebbe Asi and Rava bar Nosson. Another one of the Ravas I counted from the 53. V'Yosef Rav Nachman Gabayu, and Rav Nachman was sitting with them. V'Yaz v'Karmi. In other words, I think Rav Nachman was the Rebbe. V'Yaz v'Karmi. Hi Elon the Koi Heicha. Where in the world is this tree that we're discussing? He put his Eruv on. Now, in order to understand the sugya, we have to go back for a second and understand that everything is taking place in Bein HaShmashos. It cannot be taking place before Bein HaShmashos, because then you can flip it around, you can do things. It cannot be talking about on Shabbos, it's too late. If I'm Koine Shvisa, if I make my residence, okay, if you just joined us today, because I know of a person that just joined today, so let's start over for a second, just for him. We're talking about Erev Tchumim. We're talking about a person is allowed to go 2,000 amas. From the city limits, 2,000 amas. Now, if he wants to, he could extend it by another 2,000 amas, by placing a meal, 2 meals, at the end of 2,000 amas. And now, halachically, it's considered that he took up residence at that Erev, at that meal, and now from that meal on, he goes another 2,000 amas. Okay. What if the food disappears, animals eat the food? It's not a problem, because during Bein HaShmashos, when the Erev is Chal, that was my residence. What if my house burnt down on Shabbos? It's not a problem, because during Bein HaShmashos, I had a house. So we're talking about Bein HaShmashos. Okay. Says the Gemara, Heicha, where's this tree? If the tree is in a private domain, I placed my su'uda in somebody's backyard. He lives 2,000 amas away from my house, let's say, in another city, and I'm placing it in his backyard on a tree. Mali lamala, mali lamata. We're talking about Rishuyas now. Where does the Rishus HaYachid start? Where does it end? It's just like, I think, well, there's in Manhattan, there's like ear rights and stuff like that, but typically speaking, your Rishus goes up to the sky. There's no limit to your Rishus HaYachid. But Rishus HaRabban, where does Rishus HaRabban go to? 10 Tfachim, right? We learned in Masechet Shabbos 100 times. 10 Tfachim, Rishus HaRabban. Rishus HaYachid goes through and through. So Rishus HaYachid, Oilad L'Rukiya. So what's the difference? If I'm standing in the bottom of the tree, so what difference does it make where my Erev is? It could be 10 Tvachim high, 20 Tvachim high. We're all in the same place. So in the same Rishus, I can retrieve it. What's the problem? I'll take the Erev off the 10 Tvachim and weitergegangen. Velo, so must say the Koy Rishus HaRabban. Okay, so the Gemara sticks with that. That we're talking about that he's in a Rishus HaRabban, and Rishus HaRabban only goes to 10 Tvachim. Then it's Skav and Lishbaseicha. And where does he want to be? We have to figure out, where does this guy want to be for Shabbos? He wants to be in the tree. So that's not a problem. He'll be in the tree with his Eruv, and he could access his Eruv, because he's in the same Rishus as his Eruv. When he's together with his Eruv, he could access it. You're telling me he can't access it. Why not? He was trying to be on the bottom of the tree. The bottom of the tree is what? A Rosh Hashanah, because the tree is in Rosh Hashanah. There's some picture here. I don't know if this will help or not. Here we go. Also from Kol HaLashon, $1 million book. His tree is a million. See, Rosh Hashanah. Here's a tree. Put his Erev up here. 10 tefachim, let's say. Let's go in Beis Lamata. Fine. So he can't access it. Why? Because he's in Rosh Hashanah. His Erev is in Rosh Hashanah. He can't take it from Rosh Hashanah. You can't bring from one domain to the other domain. That's the whole Masechel Shabbos. First mission in Masechel Shabbos, right? You can't carry from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. So therefore, that's why this is not a good Erev. Because any su'uda that you can access to eat, even Ben Hashmoshes, he cannot access it Ben Hashmoshes. Why can't he access Ben Hashmoshes? Because Ben Hashmoshes, he's also not permitted to move things from, are you allowed to drive a car Ben Hashmoshes? No, because it might be Shabbos. So then I can't take my Erev off the tree on Ben Hashmoshes because I might be carrying from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. So that's why it's not a good Erev. Because it's in a place that no one in the world could eat from that Erev. Says the Gemara, so you're telling me that it's up in a tree. But there's the Issa D'Rabbanan to use a tree. You're not allowed to climb a tree. So how is he getting to it anyways? Now, so time out. We're going back to it's below 10 Tvachim. In the case that he's standing in Rosh Hashanah and it's below 10 Tvachim, you told me in the Mishnah that it's a good Erev, below 10 Tvachim. But he can't take anything off a tree. Even if your coat is hanging on a tree, you're not allowed to take it off the tree because you're using the tree. And Chacham are concerned that you might break a brand, So what do? Says the Gemara, very interesting lashon. I'm not sure why the Gemara does this. The Gemara repeats everything we just said as if it's a big chiddush. We just came off this. The Gemara should have just jumped to the end. But the Gemara says it anyways, a bunch of words that we just said. He is standing in Rosh Hashanah. He's standing, he wants to be below the tree. He wants to be on the ground. And Rebbe holds the Omar called Davar Shuhu Mishum Shvus Legazru Allah Ben Hashmoshes. We had this concept yesterday. Shvus means the Rabbanon. It's only the Rabbanon to take something off a tree on Shabbos. To move something from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, that's the Deraisa. But your concern of me using a tree, that's only the Rabbanon. And that I could do Ben Hashmoshes. It's not like driving a car, being Machal Shabbos Deraisa. This is a Shvus. This is the Rabbanon. And the Rabbanon, we don't mind so much you doing a Ben Hashmoshes. So Memela, you're asking me, this Erev, that's in a Rosh Hashanah, how are you able to use it? Because during Ben Hashmoshes, I was able to access it. Why? Because it's only the Rabbanon. And that Isser doesn't apply Ben Hashmoshes. Omer Rav Nachman, Yishar. That's a great pshat. V'chein Omer Shmuel. And that's what Shmuel said as well. Omer Lei, Pasrisu Bakuli Hai. What? You went through the whole pshat and this is how you figured it out and everything is good. So he says, what, you're telling me that I did this so quickly? We did this together. You also came up with the same conclusion. Elo, so what did they say? Is it such a great pshat that's it? This is going to be in the Gemara forever? This is the pshat. Itmanami, and the Gemara just repeats the pshat. Itmanami, Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Shmuel, Hacha Be'ilanayim B'Rishus Harabim Askinon. We're talking about a tree that's in Rishus Harabim. Gevaya Soretz 10 Tvachim High V'Rochav Arba. That makes it a Rishus Hayachid. If the tree, like in this picture, well over here, don't read it. It says 8. I took out. There's two pictures. One says 8. One says 10. There's the exact same picture. I think 4 by 4. So Memela that makes it a Rishus Hayachid. 4 by 4 by 10 is a Rishus Hayachid. He's standing down here below. That's a Rishus Harabim. V'Neskaven Lishbois Lamato, and he wants to make his residence below. He wants to be on the Rishus Harabim. The Rebbe here, and it goes according to Rebbe, the Amakal Davar Shum Mishum Shvus. Anytime there's the Issa D'Rabbanan, Loi Gazru Ala Ben Hashmoshes. They said it's permitted to do during Ben Hashmoshes. That is the final pshat, and we're sticking to it. Have a wonderful day.
Why are we worried about Ben Hashmoshes if they're using? Just say the Rabbanan is better than the Yomi Eruvin is the DRS.
Well, what again?
Just say better to be Yomi.
Why over? Don't go. Don't go on Shabbos. Who told you to go? Yeah. No. We're talking about the Dvar Mitzvah. We're talking about the Dvar Mitzvah. You don't have to go anywhere. Why do you have to go? You're going to be Nichum Avelim. We're talking about. You can only make Erev Dvar Mitzvah. You're forced to go Nichum Avelim. You don't have to go.